myself Shivi Bajpayee, and I'm currently studying in class 12, and I'm making videos to help my juniors get good marks in English literature, the poetry and the story portion. So today I'll make video on the story, that is the hearts and the hands. So in this poem we'll get to know about the relation about the significance of heart and hands in this poem. So it is written by O. Henry. Let's see what is there in this story. I'll be reading this story and I'll be telling you this important line and this short summary that what is there in the first paragraph and second paragraph, and like this. Okay. At Denver, there was an influx of passengers into the coaches on the eastbound B&M Express. At Denver is a place name. There was an influx of passengers. Influx means crowd. There were many passengers. There was a crowd of passengers into the coaches on the eastbound B&M Express. On the eastbound B&M Express. On the B&M Express, it's a train name written. In one coach, there sat a very pretty young woman, dressed in elegant taste and surrounded by all the luxuries, comforts of an experienced traveler. Among the newcomers, in one coach, there sat one woman. She was very pretty and she was well dressed. And she was comforted, she was having all the luxurious comfort of an experienced traveler. That experienced traveler must have. Among the newcomers were two young men, one of handsome presence with a bold, frank countenance and manner. Now the two newcomers, the two new men arrived in the train. The one person was a very handsome man and with a bold, frank countenance. Countenance means expression and manner. And the other was a ruffled, glum-faced person, heavily built and roughly dressed. He was not good looking and he was not even dressed properly. The two were handcuffed together. They were handcuffed together. Handcuffed means हथकड़ियाँ जो होती हैं उनके हाथों में वो बनी थी, मतलब they were handcuffed together. एक के हाथ में एक जगह बंधी थी हथकड़ी और एक हाथ में बंधी थी राइट में, एक के लेफ्ट में. दोनों के हाथ में हथकड़ी बंधी थी, तो दोनों साथ चल रहे थे. इसलिए जो फर्स्ट वाला था वो हैंडसम पर्सन था, सेकेंड वाला ग्लम फेस्ड था, तो दोनों साथ में ही थे. They were handcuffed together. Okay. In this first stanza, there is an introduction of the train and the passengers and their looks, everything. Their character sketch is described here. In the first stanza, I'm again repeating. In the first stanza, we get to know the train name, the passengers, the three passengers, the introduction of the three passengers. One, a lady, elegant, beautiful, pretty lady, and second, the two young men, and their how they looked and their character traits. As they passed down the aisle of the coach, the only vacant seat offered was a reversed one facing the attractive young woman. Aisle means passage between two seats. As you know, in the train there are two seats and there is a passage between two seats. That is called as aisle. And the seat which they got was facing the attractive woman, मतलब उसके सामने वाली सीट उनको मिली. unwilling couple seated themselves. The young woman's glance fell upon them with a distant, swift disinterest, then with a lovely smile brightening her countenance, her expressions, and the tender pink tinging her round cheeks, she held out a little grey-gloved hand. When she spoke, her voice, full, sweet, and deliberate, proclaimed that its owner was accustomed to speak and be heard. Means the young woman, she looked at them and she gave a lovely smile and she was blushing. She raised her hand, her grey gloved hand. She was wearing a grey colored glove. She raised her hand and she spoke something. Okay. What she says, let's see. Well, Mr. Easton, if you will make me speak first, I suppose I must. Means the first person, if she was knowing one of the person who were handcuffed. The two men were handcuffed, one a glum-faced man and one was this person, a handsome person. She was knowing one of them, so she said, well, Mr. Easton, if you will make me speak first, I suppose I must. Don't you ever recognize old friends when you meet them in the West? Mr. Easton is a person who is a handsome looking person. She said, don't you recognize your old friends when you meet them in the West? Means क्या तुम अपने दोस्तों को नहीं पहचानते हो जब वेस्ट में उनसे मिलते हो? मतलब डेनवर वेस्ट की साइड पड़ता है तो don't you recognize them? Mr. Easton said. The younger man roused himself sharply at the sound of her voice, seemed to struggle with a slight embarrassment when he threw off instantly and then clashed her finger with his left hand. It's Miss Fairchild, he said with a smile. I'll ask you to excuse the other hand. It's otherwise engaged just as at present. He says that he slightly raised his right hand, bound at the wrist by the shining bracelet, to the left one of his companion. Mr. Easton raised his right hand, and with the left hand of Miss Fairchild, they both handshaked. The glad look in the girl's eyes slowly changed to bewildered horror. The girl, Miss Fairchild, was looking so pretty and she was blushing. But then when she saw that Mr. Easton was handcuffed with the glum-faced man, she was a little bit terrified. The glow faded from her cheeks. Her lips parted in a vague, relaxing distress. Easton, with a little laugh, as if amused, was about to speak again, when the other four stalled him. The glum-faced man had been watching the girl's countenance with the veiled glances from his keen, shrewd eyes. The glum-faced person's eyes was like this. He was watching that girl, her everything, what she was doing. As Mr. Easton and Miss Fairchild had met somewhere, they knew each other, so they were talking to each other. So Mr. Easton, glum-faced man said, "You'll excuse me for speaking, miss, but I see you are acquainted with the marshal here." Horrified with the marshal here. "If you'll ask him to speak a word for me, when we get to the pen, he'll do it. It'll make things easier for me there. He's taking me to live in Worth prison. It's 7 years for counterfeiting." Means the glum-faced person was so good that he said, that the Mr. Easton, that he is my marshal and he will tell you everything. Please, can you allow us to go for smoke? Go to the smoke room because the glum-faced person wants to smoke. It's 7 years for counterfeiting. He says that he is taking me to the Leavenworth prison. It's 7 years for counterfeiting. It's 7 years for fraud. Oh, said the girl with a deep breath and returning color. So that is what you are doing out here, Marshal. The girl said with a deep breath and returning color. So that is what you are doing out here, Marshal. She was happy that no, nothing wrong is there and Mr. Easton is a marshal. My dear Miss Fairchild, said Easton calmly, I had to do something. She said that I had to do something. Oh, sorry, Mr. Easton, he said that yeah, I'm doing this because I have to do something. Money has a way of taking wings unto itself. And you know, it takes money to keep a step with our crowd in Washington. Means, कहते नहीं, अगर आपके पास पैसा नहीं है तो कुछ नहीं है. तो मतलब लोगों की बराबरी करने के लिए पैसा होना चाहिए आपके पास. He's saying this. That money has a way of taking wings unto itself. And you know, it takes money to keep a step with our crowd in Washington. मतलब level बराबर होना चाहिए. I say this opening in the West, and well, a marshalship isn't quite as high a position as that of ambassador. But the ambassador, said the girl warmly, doesn't call anymore. He didn't ever have done so. You ought to know that. And so now you are one of these dashing Western heroes, and you ride and shoot and go on all the kind of dangers. That's different from Washington's life. You have been missed from the old crowd. What he said, I saw this opening in the West, and well, a marshalship isn't quite as high a position as that of an ambassador. मतलब ये ambassador से ऊंची position है. Doesn't call anymore means he's saying that as you used to be a Western hero and you used to ride and shoot and do the things full of danger. That's different from Washington life. You have been missed from the old crowd, but you're doing different things. You have been missed from the old crowd. The girl's eyes, fascinated, went back, widening a little to rest upon the glittering handcuffs. Don't you worry about them, miss, said the other man. All marshals, the Miss Fairchild was not happy. She was thinking something, that why the Mr. Easton has handcuffed his hand with the glum-faced man. He has done so. So the glum-faced person, he said, don't you worry about them, miss, said the other man. All marshals handcuff themselves to their prisoners to keep them from getting away. Mr. Easton knows his business. He says that, yeah, it is a business. It is a rule that all the marshals, they handcuff themselves to their prisoners to keep them from getting away. इसलिए करते हैं ताकि वो चले ना जाएं. जो prisoners हैं, जो वो भाग के चले ना जाएं. Will we see you again soon in Washington? asked the girl. That, will I be able to see you again? The girl asked. Not soon, I think, said Easton. My butterfly's days are over, I fear. Butterfly days means my good days are over. When I used to rest, when I used to have what I wanted, when I used to do all the enjoyment, they're over. I love the West, said the girl irrelevantly. Her eyes were shining softly. She looked away out the car window. She began to speak truly and simply without a gloss of style and manner. She speaks in a very simple way. Mama and I, she said that I love West. And then she continued and said, Mama and I spent the summer in Denver. She went home a week ago because father was slightly ill. I could live and be happy in the West. I think the air here agrees with me. Money isn't everything, but people always misunderstand things and remain stupid. It shows that she was a flirty girl. What shows? That when she asked that what showed that Miss Fairchild was a flirtatious lady. When she came to know that Mr. Easton has settled down in West, she also said that she loves West and the air here agrees with me and money isn't everything and people always misunderstand. She was flirting with him. Marshall, what Mr. Easton said? Say, Mr. Marshall, growled the glum-faced man. This isn't quite fair. I'm needing a drink and haven't had a smoke all the day. Haven't you talked long enough? Take me to the smoker now, won't you? I'm half dead for a pipe. You're saying this, the glum-faced man is saying this. When you will take me to the smoker room? When you will take me? I'm just half dead without pipe. I'm half dead for a pipe means I'm half dead for smoking. I want to drink. I want to smoke. Please take me to the smoker room. Because they were handcuffed together, so the glum-faced man cannot go by himself. So he's asking Mr. Easton to go with him. I can't deny a petition for tobacco, he said lightly. It's the one friend of unfortunate. Goodbye, Miss Fairchild, duty calls, you know. He held out his hand for a farewell. He says that I can't deny a request for tobacco. I can't deny. Mr. Easton said that I can't deny a request for tobacco. He said lightly, it's the one friend of unfortunate. It's the one friend? Means the prisoner, the glum-faced man. Goodbye, Miss Fairchild, duty calls, you know. He held out his hand for a farewell. It's too bad you're not going east, she said, reclothing herself with a manner and a style. But you must go on Leavenworth, I suppose? Yes, said Mr. Easton, I must go on to Leavenworth. Leavenworth is a prison name. The two men sidled down the easel into the smoker. The two men sitting by the side of the smoking room. The two passengers in a seat nearby had heard most of the conversations. Said one of them that Marshall's a good sort of cab. Some of these Western fellows are all right. Pretty woman to hold an office like that, isn't she? Isn't he? Asked the other. Pretty young to hold an office like that, isn't he? Asked the other. The young, exclaimed the first speaker. Why, oh, didn't you catch on? Means the first passenger said that they were talking, whispering. Said that pretty young. He's so young to be the officer, to be the marshal. Young? Exclaimed the first speaker. Why, oh, didn't you catch on? Say, did you ever know an officer to handcuff a prisoner to his right hand? Means they were knowing that an officer never handcuffs his right hand with the prisoner's left hand. Say, did you ever know an officer to handcuff a prisoner to his right hand? मतलब क्या कभी तुमने किसी ऑफिसर को देखा है उसका राइट हैंड प्रिजनर के लेफ्ट हैंड से हैंडकफ करते हुए? नहीं ना, क्योंकि कभी भी कोई प्रोफेसर, कोई भी ऑफिसर, कोई भी मार्शल अपना राइट हैंड प्रिजनर के लेफ्ट हैंड से नहीं हैंडकफ करता है. तो इसका मतलब ये था, in this story we have seen the glum